Swallowed Star 528 3 Levels of Mental States. Chapter 528 3 Levels of Mental States. Translator. Translation Nation Editor. Virtual Universe, Black Dragon Mountain Island, close to the river by 9-Star Bay. 3 people sat there. A tall and sturdy youth with short hair was dressed in casual clothing, yet his energy felt like a pike ready to pierce forward at any time. On his left was a clean white-robed, bald youth who was smiling. His smile was so pure, it made one's soul get drawn in. Beside these two sat a skinnier youth. His killing aura was heavy. His entire being seemed to have been drenched in a bloody river of cold massacre. That aura was terrifying. 30. Your mental state is really hitting the limit. The bald youth shook his head and smiled. Second brother, in terms of mental state, I cannot compare to you. I cannot break through for now. The only thing I can do is push my limits. That way at least I'll improve. Luo Feng smiled. He could feel it himself. In reality, as he was spending long periods of time in the ancient god ruins of Blood River World, he was influenced for tens of years by the killing aura. He was originally ice-cold within his bones. But now with the invasion of the killing aura, and with the golden-horned beast absorbing so many Blood River crystals, even within the virtual universe Luo Feng emitted a powerful killing aura. Pushing your limits is after all still a small path. Thunder God shook his head. Second brother. Hong sat and smiled. You don't have to force third brother. In terms of mental state training, he's also exceptional. To be able to train his mental state to such a level, where he is not affected by dust or poison, is great. Absolute purity, absolute rejection, and absolute coagulation. This form of absoluteness is also a growth in mental state. Thunder God was shocked, nodding. He asked curiously, Big brother, but this is still after all. Hong looked at Luo Feng, third brother. Big brother. Luo Feng smiled at Hong. Your second brother and I have been giving you many pointers on mental training. However, this is different from other training. It's a form of release in spirit. Hong looked at Luo Feng. Many mysteries before may have been explained. Today I'll depict it for you from the highest levels. Luo Feng's eyes gleamed. Heart? What is heart? Mental state, just what is that? Hong smiled. From a warrior's training point of view, the heart is actually willpower. Your willpower strength is already exceptional. Hong said. However, overall, from an overall look, you are still only on the first level of the 3 great mental states. First level. Luo Feng was shocked. 3 great mental states? This is my summary. Hong smiled. In our Chinese ancient culture, we've always emphasized on the training of one's mental state. There are all sorts of tests for the heart. By training in them, these will all be directed at one's heart, and will be able to see one's heart clearly. The body is the wisdom tree. Your heart is the stand of the bright mirror. You must frequently wipe it. Don't let it become dusty. It actually refers to looking at oneself and understanding. Luo Feng frowned. Right now, your heart is like a mirror, not affected by dust. Your heart is like a blade, slicing through obstacles. It's already considered having seen yourself and understood it, reaching a very high level. Hong exclaimed. Now, you continue to train your heart, making your willpower stronger. However, no matter how much you train, you are still only on the first level. What's the second level? Luo Feng asked. Simply put, man and nature as one. Hong pointed at Thunder God beside. Your second brother is considered to be at the second level. What's man and nature as one? Luo Feng asked. Man and nature as one refers to the perfect mental state. Hong smiled. What do I mean by perfect? When one's yin and yang are fully melded and are complementing each other. As for how, your current path, chasing limits, that's simply pushing it. Simply pushing your limits may strengthen yourself. However, only when the yin and yang are working together will it be perfect. Just like a man in this world, when he feels harmony, he'll be sturdy and flexible, depending on whichever the situation requires.
This mental state is as such too. When it's time to be like a blade or when it's time to train. And when it's time to be gentle like water, the water always flows around the blade. In terms of defense, the water is even more solid than a shield, hence it's more powerful. Hong smiled. The harmony of yin and yang, man and nature, mental state harmony. Of course, this is a very high level of perfection, and is that of a pure and innocent heart. In theory, it's already the pinnacle. Your brother is as such. Luo Feng held his breath as he listened, asking, "Heart like a blade, I understand. But how do I make my heart like water?" "I'll explain the theory, but the state itself is hard to explain." Hong smiled and shook his head. That 1st level refers to one's heart and understanding it, and to be able to see through the rubble. The second is the harmony of yin and yang, man and nature, heart of pureness, perfect mental state. Luo Feng asked, "In theory the second state is the pinnacle already, then what about the third?" Thunder God beside him smiled. "The third level, your big brother has begun to barely perceive it." "The third," Hong said softly, "is what I've just begun to touch. Heart is void and vast, heart is endless. Heart encompassing everything." "What do you mean?" Luo Feng asked. "It's hard to explain." Hong smiled. "How about this? If the second is the harmony of yin and yang, man and nature as one, melding perfectly with everything around, then the 3rd is the heart being endless and vast, encompassing everything, including the endless universe, everything. Anything with a will can be encompassed, whether it's slaughter, material wealth and goals, appreciation of beauty, lust for power, everything." Luo Feng was shocked. Everything could be encompassed. If one can achieve this state, even facing against an incredibly powerful opponent, life form, all willpower, cannot affect me. Hong smiled. "Damn, that's sick." Luo Feng stared. "Sick, right?" The white baldy thunder god smiled. "Man and nature as one, heart of pureness. Whether it's yoga or Chinese ancient culture, these are all the pinnacle. However, your brother's level, in ancient Chinese culture it has been mentioned before but never reached. Hence, no one really knows." Luo Feng looked at Hong, filled with even more admiration. 3 great mental states. First level, seeing through and understanding yourself. In many Buddhist teachings and paths, this was already progress. The second level, man and nature as one, heart of pureness. This was in theory the pinnacle. Third level, heart vast and endless, encompassing everything. This was unbelievable. "Big brother, how do you reach this third level?" Luo Feng couldn't help but ask. "The second state, I can barely touch it, however I can't fully comprehend it." Mental state training all relied on the heart. Luo Feng's understanding of his self had reached a limit. Indeed, he only had a small understanding of the harmony between yin and yang. "It's hard to explain, I've only managed to get some ideas from looking at some books." Hong smiled. "There's a saying, emptiness is the strongest. Another one also says that only when one doesn't contest will he be able to contest everything. Actually, I've studied many theories from the ancient Chinese culture. These 2 sayings are considered to have sparked my reaching of this level. Emptiness is the strongest. Only when one doesn't contest will he be able to contest everything?" Luo Feng frowned. "The logic is simple and I understand it. But what you mean is, the Chinese culture is bright, with countless exceptional people in history being able to reach man and nature as one with hearts of pureness. These are all ancient history. Reach the second level first." Hong smiled. Let me see. These should be helpful for you. Read these few Chinese culture books, it may help." Luo Feng nodded. Suddenly he felt something stir within. "Masha clansman is here." "above Blood River World for a few months already, and finally arrived. Blood River cloud levels. A faint silhouette immediately passed through 1,000 kilometers and landed beside the huge pit quarters. With a flash it went in. Huge pit quarters. Luo Feng, who was dressed in the bronze armor, got up on his hind legs. Looking at the entrance of the cave, a black silhouette appeared. It was Masha Luo Feng. 10 Blood River crystals. Masha Luo Feng casually placed the 10 crystals and left again, passing through the 18 cloud levels and into the automaton ship which was floating in the space above. For safety reasons, he let the Masha body take the internal core into space, at least it was very safe. within the huge pit quarters. I finally have Blood River crystals. Luo Feng collected the 10 crystals and revealed a helpless smile. The last time I let the golden horned beast absorb everything until there was none left for my earth body. 30 years. A total of 30 years had passed, during which he was constantly absorbing the killing aura and changing his body, yet he hadn't tried absorbing the crystals. Let's try and see if I can absorb the third one. Luo Feng took out a crystal. It had been long since he absorbed the 2ND, 30 years later now he was trying the third. Chi! He cut his palm and placed the crystal on the wood. The killing aura willpower clashed against his willpower. Compared to the golden horned beast's absorption, this little willpower is simply pathetic. Luo Feng couldn't help but exclaim, following which he felt intense pain. His body began to evolve. However, compared to the successful absorption of the 91st and 92nd crystals, this third one couldn't be considered anything. The blood energy continued to pour through his body. The Blood River crystal became more and more transparent. Pa! The sound of bones breaking occurred from his chest. I actually failed. Luo Feng looked at the close to transparent Blood River crystal. Large amounts of blood energy was returning back, making it revert to its original state. He was helpless. Indeed, the more I absorb, the harder it gets. I only stayed in the ancient god ruins for 2 years before, and I managed to absorb the second. However, now after 30 years, I am still unable to absorb the third. Luo Feng shook his head. The golden horned beast's body looks like the body structure and composition is indeed much more perfect than a human body, at least in certain aspects it's much superior. Even though he failed, Luo Feng wasn't troubled at all. In fact, he was anticipating. From the looks of it, there's still hope for me to absorb the third crystal. I have to become a blood warrior, acquire the Blood River medal and return to receive my 100k points reward.